Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sports for All podcast. I'm your host, Aiden, and today I have a really great guest. So, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Yes. Hello. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Memphis Ayoade. I am 22 years old. I'm an author, a consultant, a director, and I wear many hats. I'm also a big sports fan. I grew up doing sports, track and field, pretty much playing every sports, but I specialize in track and field for 6 years. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's great to have you. I'm so excited for our chat. So, my first question is, do you want to tell us a bit about your sports background and like how you got involved?
Yeah, of course. I was 14 when I first started athletics, track and field. Prior to doing that, I just mainly did football. But in school, I did pretty much every sport. So we're thinking basketball, rugby, did athletics also in school. And then I got to a point where I was mainly doing football and athletics, track and field. And I was still fairly new to track and field, so I had to decide what I wanted to do, whether it was football or athletics. And I chose to do athletics because I had more of a interest in that, more potential, and I liked the idea of doing individual sports over team sports.
Yeah.
It was great working in a team, but I think the idea of doing individual sports had more accountability. And then also, I mean, there was some teams element to it, so like relays, for example. And then that pretty much got me into athletics. It was a school competition, realistically, where I made a transition. So I was doing mainly 200, 400 in high jump, and then I was doing a lot of sprints. And then there was a school race that I lost, and before that I was pretty fast in small local school competitions. But then they went to a big school competition, and then I was super competitive, so I wanted to find a way to get faster. And then I ended up signing up for a local athletics club. And then by the end of summer, I was pretty much faster than all the kids who beat me in that school
Wow.
competition. And then I pretty much just continued to do sports or like track and field for the next 6 years after that. I had a big fun with it, and I had a decent amount of success with it as well.
Wow, that's incredible. Sounds like you've been on like quite a journey, and you can see like how you bounced back from that loss and how you, yeah, really like became resilient and obviously like put the effort in to make yourself better. So no, that's really interesting background. Thank you. So my next question, I know you're also involved in like lots of different like youth projects. So do you want
hmm
to tell us a bit about some of them?
Yeah, so I work with quite a few different youth organizations. So I started reach out to all I've been involved with since I've been 17. And I started off as like just a volunteer advisor, working with them online webinars. And then eventually I transitioned to now like more youth delivery stuff. So workshops or school talks. Youth Reach Out to All is a youth organization all about amplifying youth voices. So giving the youth a platform to feel empowered, whether that's through, I mean, public speaking workshops, mental health workshops, or even, financial literacy courses or stuff that we just don't feel like schools equip the young people with, that we will give them a platform to. So I'm quite passionate about Reach Out to All, and they do great work there, nationwide too, and even in different countries to some extent. For example, we got an event coming up in Birmingham, and that will be, lots of workshops arranged around how we can then empower the youth. We did another workshop last year in Birmingham too. I also work with London VI, which is London Violence Reduction Unit, specifically YPAC, so Youth Young People Action Group, and that's all about essentially it's a group of young people advising the London mayor specifically how we can help reduce violence in London. You normally get social action groups, so my social action group, my focus is education and also focus of violence against women and girls. It's normally centered around the youth into some capacity and how we can help the youth stop making London um, violence inevitable but more preventable.
That is some great work that you're doing, and it's so interesting to hear like all the different kind of hats you wear. And yeah, no, keep doing the amazing stuff you're doing. And big shout out to Reach Out to All because we're both involved. So and Marianne. So my next question is, what have been some big inspirations for you, both within sport but also outside of sport as well?
So inspiration to me within sport and outside of sport. So I start within sport. I would say self-development.
Yeah.
So through my self-development in sport, it has been a motivating factor to see myself lose countless times and get up countless times and keep going countless times. When I look back to for example, in again my individual sports journey. So for example, even high jump, right? You know you're there by yourself, more there than in a race. In a race, you are by yourself, but you have other people to compete against in that moment of the race. But like to say with high jump, you have to do that jump by yourself, and every single time you have to do that same level of jump, but at a higher height, and you have 3 attempts to get through that. And you know those moments are what really make you. You know, you either clear the bar or you don't clear the bar, or you clear the bar, or you fail the bar 2 times, and you have one more jump to clear the bar, and then you clear the bar. And for me, that has been a big motivating factor. And some of for me, my inspiring moments that make me empowered. That makes me, you know, just feel some sort of resilience. Even other motivating, inspiring factors has just been seeing your team members or your friends in different sports get to their level of progression that they had barriers they had, and then outside of sport, I would say it's just been a small progression. You know, being able to, for example, see kids, apprentices, um, develop, or being able to do workshops and see people progress from things they had barriers and overcome. So maybe mental health barriers or even public speaking, helping them communicate better. And yeah, it's just small things. Even back in sport when I know, for example, so I did the 200, 400 meters, 2019 in my county, so Surrey County, and I became the county champion. And I was the first person in 21 years to complete that fate. But
Wow.
basically, the year before that, 2018, when I did the county champs, I came fourth in high jump, and I came third in 400, and the 200, I didn't make the finals. So that was 2018, and then a year later, the same as that competition, with even harder because you go up in age group. I ended up doing the 200, 400 meters and not winning it. Um, that in itself for me was inspiring to be able to do such a feat and to be able to walk away knowing I left it all on the line. Um, yeah, incredible moments like that.
Yeah, I love that answer. I think you're right. I think you can really learn a lot from your past self and really inspire like your future self that you come through that. And I totally agree with teammates as well and like seeing other young people doing such amazing things in sport, but also like within social action as well. It really fuels you to keep going and take that step forward in different aspects of your life. Um,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, amazing. Thank you. So my next question is kind of linking to that quite nicely, actually. What skills have you learned from being involved in sport, and how have they helped you with your career and also like social action and just life generally?
Yeah, I think sports, you know, is one of the best things to do to help you develop and learn for day to day life. I look at me and I look at some of my peers who did do sports, and you can see the big impact it's made on people. And for some, even when they start doing sports later age in life, they see how much it helps you. I think
Yeah.
one of the biggest skills you learn from doing sports, depending on what sports you do. So one is delayed gratification, another one is resilience, and how to handle pressure. I start with delayed gratification. So delayed gratification, again, for example, I mean, start doing track and field really young age, and then within 4 years, it took me 4 years to become a county champion. Before that, I still lost a lot. So it's all about every year and every day, every competition. Even if you have a few wins, you still have to get up and keep going the next day. And you have a few losses, you have to keep going. I think delayed gratification is everything. Being able to wait, the patience, the virtues of patience is so amazing, and the
Yeah.
resilience factor of that, being able to keep going, being able to keep training. Also leadership as well. Leadership, it taught me a lot because I became a captain at 15, so I was really young when I was a captain, youngest captain in my history, my club's history. And then what that taught me was I was a captain of people who were like in their 20s, and I was 15,
Yeah.
and it taught me how to handle people who are older than me, younger than me, in my age. And now, for example, my day-to-day life, I do a lot of training people, a lot of team managing people, and all of those skills over a long period of time growing up, it all comes into play. Understanding emotions, understanding psychology, um, there's so many skills you can take from sports, but those are the main ones I'd say for me: delayed gratification, resilience, leadership, and pressure as well. How to handle pressure goes back to, for example, you have 3 jumps to clear your bar and high jump, and you fail the first two, and you have to clear on your last one, or you're out of the game. Or maybe you're at the line, you just won the 200 meters and you have to win the 400 meters. How to handle pressure? You're the underdog in the 200 meters and you win the 200 meters. How do you handle pressure? And pressure is a big privilege, and yeah, those are the best skills for me, I've taken away that I've now put into my day-to-day life. For example, if I'm doing a sales call, or if I'm doing public speaking, where I have to be able to handle speaking to 200 people or 300 people, or speaking with someone who's a high profile person, how do you handle pressure?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think there's some really great skills, and I think at the time we don't know obviously that we're kind of developing these things. And then when you look back on it, you're like, oh my goodness, like that has actually really helped me shape who I am and how I can overcome challenges and be resilient and really just like grow as a person. No, I love
Exactly.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Kind of leading on quite nicely to that then, what are some barriers and challenges that young people face in getting involved and also staying in sport? I think that's quite a big one as well. And do you have any advice for how they can like maybe overcome those barriers?
There's lots of barriers that I'll probably miss out. There's too many barriers. I think some of the common barriers. One, I mean, some growing up, there were quite a few opportunities. I think a lack of opportunities for some people. I think finances too. Sometimes it's a barrier to get into some sport. Recently, I've started doing golfing and I started doing tennis as well. And those sports, they're not the easiest sports to get into from young. Um, some sports also location.
Yeah,
Um, I think there's so many barriers that young people are currently facing today than before. Um, how to get over those barriers? I think looking at articles and case studies and how people have done it previously. I think asking people
yeah,
for advice in those positions. I think asking for support, maybe writing to your local MP or writing to your local club, or don't being scared to be an intern or be an apprentice for a bit, or just watch or study, and then doing it by yourself if you have to, or doing it with a group of friends if you have to. Um, there's so many barriers. Um, yeah, those are the main barriers I'd probably think of, though. Yeah. What about you? What do you think some of the barriers are that you've seen um, for the young
I
people?
totally agree with you. I think like lack of opportunity and like especially in certain sports as well. Like I feel like there's quite a lot of like specific clubs for certain sports, but other sports there's like either none or maybe one or two, and
Mm,
they're normally quite far away from people, so it's quite hard to kind of see, yeah, where the kind of disparities are.
mm,
And I think also like in terms of like disabilities, yes, we're getting better in terms of like different clubs and kind of provisions for people who have disabilities, but I think yeah, there still needs to be quite a lot of work done around that. I feel like it's so important to kind of be able to reflect on what has maybe gone well for other organizations and then also what hasn't gone well. And
mm.
if you want to like try and help set up a club or speak to somebody about how things can be different, then just making things more inclusive for young people, I think is really important.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
So my last question is, what advice would you give to a young person wanting to get involved in sport but who might not have the confidence?
Honestly, the best advice just for anything in life, and for someone wanting to do something, is just to do it.
Yeah,
Because you're gonna learn on the go. You're gonna gain confidence on the go. You're gonna gain resilience and everything. How to handle pressure on the go. You, by us sitting around and not doing something, or thinking it, overthinking it, or planning it, it's gonna put you off. It's gonna procrastinate, and it might never ever happen. And you'll never ever 100% be ready for anything. You can plan as much as you want. You can do as much as you want, but you never ever 100% be ready for anything. So the best advice is just to do it. I think
yeah,
there's an element of looking in something, you know, seeing if you like it, seeing if it makes sense for you. But you have to weigh up the opportunity cost. Is it worth you doing it now, doing it later? What will you be missing out? And sometimes there is no rush element too. There's a
Yeah.
fine line of all of it, but I think a lot of what stops people from doing it is just not doing it, and maybe they're scared of other people's opinions, other people's views, and that shouldn't be a stopping barrier because if whenever you do anything, you start off with anything, you're always going to be inverted commas. I say this as like rubbish, because it's your first time doing it, but everyone was at some point, inverted commas rubbish was at some point not the best. I remember when I started doing skiing at the beginning of this year, I was rubbish. It took me a long time to get better, and I'm still not the best, but I didn't leave until I can do it, and now you can do it. You just keep doing it until you get better. Even for example, golf, tennis, these more complex sports, just do it. Even ice skating, just do it, and you get better and better the more you do it. Not thinking about it, but actually doing it. And I think that's the only advice. And it goes back to delayed gratification. If you give yourself time, be patient, don't have instant gratification, you will get better and you will improve. It's just about a matter of volume and a matter of timing, and you will improve.
That is such a great piece of advice. I totally agree. I think that beginner stage is like always like really the hardest one to get through. And you just started, you're still learning how to do things, like maybe fitting
Yeah,
into the club, that kind of thing. Like it's
exactly.
definitely, yeah, it's definitely the hardest bit. But then once you're in there and you'll fall in love with the sport, or you'll
There's
maybe you decide it's not for you, and then in which case you can try something else.
exactly,
But
exactly. There's no really right or wrong. It's just perspective, and you just,
yeah,
as you said, like give it a try. And if you don't like it, great, do something else. But give yourself time too. And there's like a saying that everyone always says they have imposter syndrome, but I like to change the narrative. And I was at the Department of Education the other day, and I was saying this to the ministers there, like it's not imposter syndrome, it's beginner syndrome. Once you change the
yeah,
narrative, you realize there's no such thing as imposter syndrome. We've just created this narrative because as a culture, we believe failing is bad, but the truth is failing is actually a good thing because the quicker you fail, the quicker you learn, the quicker you can improve, and the more you want to do it. And we shouldn't be scared to fail. We shouldn't be scared to learn, and we shouldn't be scared to be a beginner. Because we was all once a beginner. And if we stopped at the beginning, we would have never even got to this moment where we are now. So you have to keep going.
yeah, no, I totally agree. Such a good piece of advice. It's just so hard to kind of start out, but it's about reclaiming the narrative, changing it, and yeah, we all have to start somewhere, don't we? Thank you so much for coming on. It's been great to have you and like hear your story. You've given everybody some amazing pieces of advice.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. It would be great if you could give it a follow and if you could give it a rating. If you want to connect with me further, you can find me on LinkedIn at Eden Byrne or on X at Eden71003.